Hello, welcome. We just had another exciting week of NFL and college action. The college season just wrapped up this week, so now all we have left is this bowl game. So, without further ado, let's just hop into it. So, first, the Thursday night game was Bills against Patriots. Not much to talk about here. Bills won 24-10. The Patriots offense had moments here and there where it looked all right, but overall, it was just like the Patriots offense continues to look like kind of meh. They felt like they ran no deep routes really. A lot of the stuff was underneath and short. And then the big thing at the end of the game was you saw Mac Jones yelling at Matt Patricia. And it was really funny. I forget who it was, but there's some Patriots fan I heard talking about. It's funny just to watch our quarterback yell at our OC, who's actually our DC that's been an OC calling plays. It's just, New England. All that being said, though, they still have a chance for the playoffs. So, hey, good for them. They still have a chance, but losing to the Bills, it's starting to look doomy and gloomy a bit for the Patriots. I'll just skip to the Colts game real quick. The Colts got absolutely embarrassed by the Cowboys. It was 54-19, I think was the score. And honestly, it was just another embarrassment. The Cowboys just dominated them on all facets of the ball. It was a game till it was basically all in the fourth quarter too. Going into the third quarter, it was 19-21. Colts were down 2. They had a chance like they were going to do something, and then they just got outscored 33-0 in the last quarter. And really embarrassing for them. Absolutely bad game. So they just Cowboys end up moving on, getting it up, and making it a lot closer with the Eagles. Chargers Raiders. I'll just go to that game next. That was a fairly alright game, I guess. Chargers went up big. Devontae Adams is still a really, really good receiver. He just found ways to get open. They had a nasty flea flicker play where he got open. And, this was a game it felt like the Raiders were favorites, and it was weird. I thought it was really weird. I'm like, why are the Ravens favorite? I don't think they should be. Why are the Raiders favorite? I don't think they should be a favorite in this game. If anything, I think the Chargers should be a favorite. But Raiders proved that they're starting to become better. Now they won another ever since the loss to the Colts, and Derek Carr was crying and being just very emotional about how their season's been going and everything. This team's really responded. They turned around. Now they've put a few wins together. And for the Chargers, they really needed that win to help with the playoffs. And as you'll be seeing here soon, they might be in a little bit of trouble. The next game was Titans-Eagles. It was the A.J. Brown revenge game. Against his former team, A.J. Brown had 119 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts had 3 touchdowns. I think he had a 300-yard day. He was another just sensational day by Jalen Hurts. He continues to play really well. And, his MVP odds are looking pretty good now. He just definitely boosted up his case with how he played in that game. And, for the Titans, Derrick Henry, 11 rushes for 30 yards. They just, once Traylon Burks really got knocked out after that hit, you knew they were going to be in trouble. First off, though, way to hang on to the ball after the hit. He got absolutely rocked by the safety, and he still managed to hang on. So that's very impressive. But this Titans, they need to figure out themselves a little bit. They need a few more receivers. They have a decent team, but they need a few more pieces to contend a little better. They just fired their GM, so that's going to be interesting. The Titans just fired their GM, so that's going to be interesting to see if anything changes off that now. And, just a good win by the Eagles. They continue to dominate this year, and, they're really close to locking up the 1 seed now. The Packers-Bears. Packers were down 10-0 at some point. Aaron Jones dealt with shin splints the whole game, and he was just not as effective. A.J. Dillon stepped up in his place. And, Packers went down 10-0 early, but then they ended up storming back, went down a little bit again, but they ended up winning 28-19 off 2 huge touchdowns from Christian Watson. And, he just is a dog at this point. He has just been playing really, really well, and, he continues to impress. He's probably going to be, I don't want to overreact, but he might be a really, really, really good receiver here in the future if he keeps playing like this. Now he has 8 touchdowns in 4 weeks, and he just continues to impress. And like I said, this game doesn't matter too much. It was just the Bears-Packers rivalry. And now Packers all time, I think, have the most wins as a franchise all time. I think they were tied going to the Packers, the Packers were tied with the Bears going into that game. And now that the Packers have won, they hold the record. But other than that, there wasn't much to talk about this game. It's between 2 teams that probably won't make the playoffs. Jacksonville-Detroit. This was a really awesome game by the brand new Lions. They basically led the whole way. Jamal Williams had his league-leading 14th touchdown this game, and this team just absolutely dominated the Jaguars. They put their foot on the gas pedal and just continued to go. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a really good game. I think Jared Goff now has 17 touchdowns during home games this year. This Lions team, they fired one coach in their defense. Now their defense has stepped up even more. it's a really good Lions team that they've actually, like, we're saying this, yes, it's December 6th, and the Lions have a chance to make the playoffs. They're only 2 games out right now, and they have a somewhat favorable schedule, but they are the Lions, so no win's guaranteed. But I mean, the Lions are about to get frisky here, and then for the Jaguars, they just continue to be a little bit disappointing. And Deshaun Watson's return to Houston, they win 27-14, but they did not score a single offensive touchdown. There was a kick return, a punt return, and a defensive return for a touchdown. And Deshaun Watson, I mean, I'm not going to harp on it too much because, first off, these are they played the Texans one. Two, these are both teams that might not make the playoffs. And, I mean, he's had a bad game. He hasn't played in over 700 days. There's a lot of balls that were thrown into the dirt. As he moves along, he should get a little bit better, but it's going to be interesting to see, like, play calling-wise, if they get him on the move more because that's where he is pretty good. And, yeah, he just needs more time to, like, before I can give him, like, a full grade, I guess. But overall, I mean, the defense and special teams stepped up when they really needed to, and they did really well against a team they should have beat, because if this was any other week, this team could have potentially got beat by like 20 or 30 the way the offensive played. But hey, they played the Texans, and the other two part of the team stepped up. For the Jets-Vikings, this was a really, really exciting game. The Jets ended up winning. The Jets ended up losing to the Vikings 27-22, but they stormed back. I mean, there was a chance Braxton Berrios dropped this ball very close to the end zone, where it's like in the end zone where it looked like he should have caught it, but it was a little bit behind him, so you could understand him dropping it. But that just hurt. I mean, overall, that just hurt for the Jets because that was when they needed definitely more than the Vikings. But now that the Vikings won, they have a chance to clinch their division this week, and I'll come up with that towards the end. Steelers, Falcons. The Steelers went up early, and this game doesn't really matter overall, but the part that does matter sucks because that the Falcons lost and the Bucs won, so now they flip in the standings, I believe, from last week. And if they don't flip, now the Falcons fall even farther down, and it's just been. And then for the Steelers, I mean, they're flipping their whole season around. They're starting to win a few more games. There's a chance, I mean, they could finish this year 9-8, and Tomlin could keep his record. But Kenny Pickett continues to still miss a few throws, but I mean, he is a rookie. He's looking a lot better, and it's just going to be interesting to see what these two teams do in the future, because it's definitely not a year for them. To brush over this game quickly, I mean, Lamar's hurt, PCL injury. He might be out week to week. The Ravens beat the Broncos 10-9. The Broncos were basically up the whole game, and then the Ravens on the last drive with Huntley ended up coming back. But overall, this was just a bad game by the. Honestly, this is a bad game by both sides. Offense really couldn't do much, and it was just really, really poor play, honestly, just from both sides offensively. Defensively, though, they played really well. Both sides stepped up, and the Broncos just continued to get unlucky, and they lost again. This game, Commanders-Giants, they play 2 weeks from now, and the Commanders are on bye. So they get 3 weeks to prepare for this, and the first game ended up in a tie. This game just recently got flexed into the Sunday night slate. I think solely based on the fact that they tied, and this could be a fun game, but these are two teams. I mean, they have now the same record, I think. Both teams coming in, whoever lost had a 40% chance of dropping out of the playoffs, so they decided to tie. And now with the tie, I mean, there's a chance that game in 2 weeks from now is going to matter a lot for who's going to be, like, in the lead for the... Or not even the lead for conference, who's going to get in the playoffs, because potentially I don't think both of them make it. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see that game in 2 weeks, what happens, because that game in 2 weeks could potentially be for one of the playoff spots. Quickly over the Monday night game before I get into the last two games of Sunday. The Bucs beat the Saints. This was a poo-poo football game. It was 16-3 going with like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then there was a PI that led to a Bucs touchdown, and the Bucs scored with like seconds left in it. I'll be honest, I just didn't watch the game. It was a really boring game between two teams that I don't really care too much about. So I did see a little bit of the ending. I saw plays here and there during the game, but overall I didn't really watch the game, so I can't give you a good idea on game flow or anything. But overall, I mean, just like the Bucs barely beat the Saints, but I mean, the Saints have gotten their numbers. So the fact they beat them twice, that's something. I mean, another game-winning drive for Brady. I mean, it just seems what he does. And yeah, good win for the Bucs, keeps them and for the 4 seed right now. So the way it looks, they'd be playing the Cowboys in the playoffs, and that'd be interesting. Dolphins 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo broke his foot, was out for the whole season originally. Now there's a chance he might come back. We don't know now. But Brock Purdy did a good job taking over. He managed the game well. They ended up The final score was 33-17, but it was definitely a lot closer than that. The Dolphins ended up having a fumble 6 late in the game and another late turnover that led to a score that, like, they had a chance with 5 minutes left to go down and have a game-winning drive, but they ended up just not getting it. And Tua was basically inaccurate for most of the day. It was just one of those games. And it was a really good win by the 49ers because they stayed ahead of their division, and for the Dolphins, bad loss dropped them down a bit. But then the final game that was probably one of the games of the day, the Chiefs-Bengals. Bengals won 27-24. They beat the Chiefs the last 3 times. And it was a really, really good win for them. Really good win. I mean, they really needed that bad. Yeah, it was just like, it was, both teams really needed the game. I mean, the Chiefs, obviously, you see with the loss now, drop from first to second after losing to the Bengals. And for the Bengals, they go up to 5th place now, and they potentially be battling the Ravens. And, I mean, with Lamar out, that division is going to come down to potentially, like, these few games coming up. So, that's basically just a quick game overview of the games for this week. I really want to just brush through those, not too much to talk about. It was a really good week of slate. It was a good week slate of games. So, I mean, it was a lot of fun games to watch and everything. Going into this next week, we have 6 teams on bye. So, yeah, before I get into the playoff matchups, I'll just brush through, like, with the upcoming week. Raiders and Rams are going to be a Thursday night game. I mean, yeah. Then we got Ravens, Steelers, Vikings, Lions, Jaguars, Titans, Eagles, Giants, Jets, Bills, Browns, Bengals, and Texans, Cowboys. Those are all at 1 o'clock. I mean, there's a few games here and there. There's 6 teams on bye next week, so it's going to be a little bit of a slower week. The Monday night games, the Cardinals, Patriots, that's going to be, Flexing of the Sunday night now is the Dolphins, Chargers, and then for the 4 o'clock that day, it's going to be Chiefs, Broncos, Bucks, 49ers, Panthers, Seahawks. So there's a few good games. There's a few good games here and there, but I mean, like, overall, it's all right. I mean, the slate's okay. This week's slate was a lot better, but so yeah, to now get into, like, the matchups. If the playoffs ended today, Bills and Eagles would be the 2 teams getting by, so they're moving on. The Chiefs would be playing the Jets, while the Vikings would be playing the Seahawks. Those are a pretty interesting match. I just like the fact there's new teams in. I always love the fact of seeing new teams play different new teams. The Dolphins would play the Ravens, while the Giants would play the 49ers. And then Titans, Bengals versus Buccaneers and Cowboys. I think my favorite matchup, if I had to pick, honestly, would probably be the Ravens-Dolphins. I mean, those are 2 quarterbacks, one who's really accurate and very good at passing versus one who's very mobile and very good at moving. I mean, all those AFC games, honestly, like, overall, I mean, like, any of these matchups, they'd be a lot of fun. You really couldn't go wrong with any of the ones you picked. And it's just like, as you can see, I mean, these are really good. This would be a really good playoff setting if it ended today. And then if you see the teams on the bubble, we'll cut it off with the 6-win teams. For the 6-win teams, it's, as you see, the Patriots are just on the brink, and the Chargers are just on the brink. And for the other side, it's the Lions and the Washington Commanders are looking close. Well, overall, the NFL is getting really exciting. It's about to come down to the end. But yeah, basically to finish off this, I'll go over college quickly. For the bowl games, Conference USA, UTSA ends up blowing out North Texas. Pac-12, USC. Caleb Williams goes down to injury, so it's going to be interesting to see if that affected his Heisman at all. But going down to injury now, Utah beat them to win the Pac-12, and USC ends up getting bumped out for Ohio State. So Ohio State's the 4 now. Michigan beats Purdue to stay at number 2 for the Big Ten Championship. For the MAC, Toledo ends up handling Ohio. TCU loses to Kansas State by 3 in overtime, 21-38. And TCU is 3, so it's going to be Michigan, TCU. Georgia wins, obviously, their conference, so it's going to be Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, Michigan. For the college football playoffs, to finish off the championship games, though, Fresno won the Mountain West. Tulane, for the first time ever, won the AAC. So now they're going to host a Big Six. North Carolina gets blown out by Clemson. And then Coastal gets beat by 19 by Troy. But yeah, it's going to be a really fun week of games overall. I mean, I know college is done basically now, so it's all focused on NFL. But here in the near future, we have all the bowl games that are coming up slowly here throughout the weeks and days. So it's just an awesome time of football season. It's the end of the year where all the good, important games matter. And yeah, football season. Let's enjoy these last few weeks, and hopefully we have a lot of good games.